Ecology Research Project by Gina Rayusi. Introduction. For my ecology project, I chose to conduct my research at a local beach. For my group species, I chose to focus on crabs, while focusing on rockweed seaweed for my single species. I chose to conduct my research at a beach because I've always been fascinated by the ocean and the animals that inhabit them. At first, the group species I chose was fish, but unfortunately I had no luck finding any. I did, however, find quite a few crabs, so I decided to turn my research over to crabs. For my group species, I asked the question, do crabs prefer to reside in the rockier areas? For my hypothesis, I predicted that I will find more crabs in the rockier area, study site 1, as it provides more shelter. While looking for crabs, I mostly found Asian shore crabs and European green crabs. Both of these species are considered invasive. Asian shore crabs have been found all along Long Island Sound. Studies show that the presence of Asian shore crabs have caused the population of the native species of Long Island Sound to decline. Not only were these invasive species present in the intertidal areas, but so were barnacles. Another study I found stated that even though these invasive crabs feed on barnacles, they are not negatively impacting the barnacle population. Seeing as there was an abundance of barnacles, this seems to be accurate. Study area in focal organisms. My study area was a local beach called Anchor Beach, which is a part of Long Island Sound. My two study sites within Anchor Beach were two rocky intertidal areas. The temperature in these areas were warm with a slight breeze, and the water itself was rather warm. The water was calm with rarely any breaking waves. The tide was found to be very low in the early hours of the day and higher during later hours. My first study site presented more rocks than my second study site. The rocks in my first study site were larger and had more shape to them. The rocks in my second study site were smaller and flatter in shape. The European green crab is found to have one mandible and two maxillae, or mouth parts. These are all used for feeding, ventilation from the gill chamber, and sensory reception. Male green crabs will have longer legs and larger claws than the females, but all crabs have 4 legs and a set of claws. Asian shore crabs are quite similar to European green crabs. Asian shore crabs are found to have a small, hard bubble right at the center of their claws. They also have 3 spines that run down their carapaces. The intertidal areas of my study site were good for conducting my research because this is the environment that these crabs are found in. Methods. The sampling method I chose to use was walking a transect line. I made the transect line 10 meters and made sure to walk vertical instead of horizontal. The reason I chose to walk vertically is because I was conducting this research during low tide, and being able to walk further out would give me a better chance of finding crabs. For data collection, I recorded my findings in a notebook and took photos of all the crabs I came upon. If my hypothesis was to be supported, I would have expected to find more crabs in study site 1. Results. My results showed that there were more crabs found in my second study site instead of the first. I had hypothesized that I would find more crabs in my first study site due to there being more rocks, which could provide more shelter. It is clear that my results negate my hypothesis. Discussion. I do not believe that because my results negate my hypothesis, it is 100% wrong. In order to prove that my hypothesis is definitely wrong, I would need to conduct multiple studies, so I would end up with multiple results. An alternate hypothesis that might explain my data could be, I will find more crabs in study site 2 rather than study site 1. Climate change as a whole can definitely influence my results. Warmer ocean temperatures, ocean acidification, and rising sea levels all have the potential to displace animals and force them to find new homes. A non-ecological factor that could be influencing my results is human transportation. Both species of crab that I found are invasive, meaning they were introduced to the area by humans. Finding both species in both study sites shows that the introduction of them have caused these crabs to overpopulate. If I was to repeat this work, I would spend more time and several days down at my study site to be able to gain more results. I would go at different times throughout the day to conduct research during low and high tide. The next steps I would take to continue testing my hypothesis would be to collect more data and expand more study sites so I have more area to investigate. I believe that my results fit into the ecological theme of this course due to the invasiveness of my crab species. We discussed invasive species in week 5 and how they can impact the ecosystem they end up being introduced to. Asian shore crabs were introduced to the East Coast in 1988 off the shore of New Jersey, most likely in the ballast water of cargo ships. They pretty much eat anything and reproduce more than the native crabs do, which just means that their population has likely exploded since their introduction, and they most likely have impacted the ecosystem in potentially negative ways. The European green crab is actually considered to be one of the most invasive species in the marine environment. They have been known to destroy seagrass and even devour juvenile salmon and juvenile king crabs. They have very few predators, and because of how aggressive and harmful they are, they have the potential to damage Alaska's multi-billion fishing industries as they have been moving north. And my references.